for years, the more and more I learned, and the further I got into it, the more I researched, I just steamed about staying where we were, because we were feeding the beast. We were feeding the beast. The beast, the government, whatever you want to call it. Yes, all governments are bad, and they're all over. But there are places where it's so much more detrimental, so much worse than others. So my whole thought was, why not move out of that and get to the best place that we can, what's better for our children's future and our future and that kind of stuff. And on top of it, we will no longer be feeding the beast as much. We won't be part of it as much, whether it's because they're taking money from you, stealing. They call it taxes, but if you're overtaxed, every cent of tax is overtaxed in my opinion. But they steal so much and take so much and feel like it's justified. And then you're staying there and you're continuing to do it and you're just working more and more and making more and more. They're taking more and more. So hence you're feeding them more and more. And I could no longer do it, and I just had to get out. Made a big move. It was a big life change. Just threw everything up, and you just got to see what happens. You just got to make it happen. Every time you make a change and uproot stuff, it's never comfortable. It's always uncomfortable, but that's growing. If you're not getting uncomfortable ever, you're never really going to grow. I mean, that's just how it goes. It's like the people that say, yeah, I know, I got to move sometime. I got to do this sometime. I know, maybe, you know what, I know, I've said this for 20 years, maybe, I got to lose some weight sometime. Or I have to start jogging and go to the gym sometime. And then 20 years later, 10 years later, they haven't done anything for it, but they continue to say the same thing. It doesn't matter. Those are empty words. I mean, those are lies. You're lying to yourself and everyone else. Do you care? I don't know. That's up to you. But that's the same sentiment. If you're just sitting here complaining about it and not doing anything about it, it's the same thing. So these places, and they're all bad, in my opinion, like I said. But some of these places, your California, your New York, there's a good number of them. I actually feel Minnesota is a mini Detroit and a mini California. They're sort of doing both of those at once, and they've been doubling down and trying to really step in line with California and their restrictions and their quote-unquote laws or rules or, theft. So on top of all the financial stuff, which is huge, because that's what people live off of, that kind of stuff. On top of all that, they are immoral. I mean, they don't obey the moral law. They, steal. And they steal from people to give to other people, which is their cronies, their friends, their people that they see justified, they see fit, they see, they should be able to. They say, yeah, they're winners, we're picking these. The losers are the ones we stole from. For the most part, that's not what they say, but that's what it is. So the longer you're there, the more and more they steal, and then the larger and larger they get, and then the more and more they steal, hence they get larger and larger and larger to steal more and more and more. Well, if they're getting larger and larger and larger and stealing more and more and more, what's happening to you? If a parasite sits there and leeches or latches on and continues to suck the life force, the blood from it, and that parasite is getting larger and larger and larger as it's taking more and more and more and needs more and more to keep up with its largeness and to continue to grow, well, the host is getting smaller and smaller and weaker till eventually the host is done. And then the leech or the parasite will hop onto another host. And that's what happens, and that's government in a whole. So if you're staying there in these situations, you're not doing anything for yourself, you're not picking that parasite off, you might have some small ones still left, but you're not picking the huge ones off, you're just feeding the beast, you're feeding the parasite, and that's what it is. I especially people that are, quote unquote, they say they're huge Bible followers, they're huge, maybe they go to church, maybe they call themselves religious, that kind of stuff. I believe spiritually, I believe in that. I do not like organized stuff other than that, and the Bible is great. But there's people that follow and say they live, word for word, by the word of it, but then they're continuing to stay where they are and live in these places that are anything but supportive of the morality and the word from the Creator and the words from the Bible. They're staying in a place that, and feeding the beast that is fully against that. So you gotta ask yourself, well, how are they really standing? How do they really stand? Because their actions speak so much louder and speak the other direction than the words that come out of their mouth. So this is no one in particular I'm talking about. I see this and I hear about this, and it's happening, and I think it's happening more and more around the country, and it's all with, well, I'm comfortable with that right now, or, well, it's just this right now, it will get better, or it's just this right now, it's not as bad as I imagined, or because of XYZ, I can't do that. Because of this other thing, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that because of these things. Well, you got to justify what you want to justify, but at the same time, if you can't do it because of these things, these other things that you say are very important are suffering, and you're feeding the beast that is against it. I'm just saying this to get out there, get people thinking. If you think I'm crazy, all right, you don't want to hear me, you don't want to listen to me, that's fine. Whatever. Take it for a grain of salt, whatever. If you do, great. As always, I thank you for watching. Like this, like, share, subscribe, and stay vigilant. Protect yourself, your family, your health.